a delicious goal for Tampa Bay.
And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there and in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles. I am coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast, and we are thrown off a little bit because it's a Monday, folks. We do not usually record on Mondays, obviously. Anybody who knows this show knows that, but we are going this week because Carlos, for whatever reason, decided that he was going to have plans on Tuesday. So instead, we are recording tonight. And our usual co-host here is throwing everybody off. I'm sorry that we're going to have to do this to you, everyone. But Carlos, what do you have to say for yourself?
I apologize to absolutely nobody. The Rowdies won, and it was a beautiful game. And I'll tell you what, I'll save my comments about the game itself for about 2 to 3 minutes from now.
Okay.
Crowd was lighter than I would have liked, though. Initial thing just to throw in here. Back-to-back games start the season, back-to-back home games. Surely expect a little bit of a drop-off. I think we saw it was just north of 4,200. Would have liked a little bit more in the stands to watch what was a really, really fun game. Regardless, Rouse Mob and Skyway Casual sections were packed. The standing sections looked really, really good on TV. And we go from there, James. Beautiful Rowdies win. We'll talk about it a bit in just a minute. Apologies for going on a Monday. Work events come up every once in a while. We try to keep it consistent and go Tuesday evenings, but here we are. If you're watching this live on YouTube or Twitter, that probably means you were following us or you jumped in the link I threw in the Rouse Mob Discord about 3 minutes ago. Either way, thanks for tuning in at this unexpected time of the week. And if you are live, take advantage, throw some stuff into the live chat on YouTube or shoot us a message or a tweet on or a zeet or whatever we're calling it on Twitter. And use hashtag AskRBLR for anything you want to get on our radar for this episode or for the future. But James, what's going on in your neck of the woods before we start talking about this really, really fun game this weekend?
Yeah, nothing too much. Got some rain today in the weather report, but yes, obviously, for everybody who is tuning in, the biggest report that we will turn our focus to is not the weather, but the Tampa Bay Rowdies, because yet again we have a very good win in the books for this team. Carlos already mentioned it, but yeah, let's do a little bit more depth on that one. 3-1 win over Loudoun United at home at LA. Yeah, the crowd was a little bit sparser than I expected, so that wasn't the best thing, but still always great to see a good win. And I'm assuming if we keep up the wins, we will keep up the momentum and probably get some more people back into the stadium for upcoming games in the future. In fact, we will get to our preview in a little bit, and it seems like there's actually quite a lot of interest in people going to this away game for the Tampa Bay Rowdies too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you are not one of the people who currently has tickets to go to see the Tampa Bay Rowdies in Jacksonville against Sporting JAX this weekend, get your tickets. There's a lot of us going. If you are in the Rouse Mob Discord, you already know where we're going. I believe, though, the section is 201 in the stadium. Also, I'm almost certain that it's general admission. So if you just get a ticket, you can join us in the section 201.
It's a weird stadium with one big stand all on the same side. I would imagine it's pretty easy to find your way to 201 regardless. But yeah, that's what I saw. I saw over 30 people already confirmed just from the Rouse Mob and Skyway Casual circles. I'd imagine there's other more casual fans that are in the area or making their way up separately.
Right.
It should be a great turnout. I am devastated to not be there this weekend. I had I'll be in Ecuador this weekend actually, so I guess I'm not that devastated. But it's unfortunate it's the same weekend as this away game because it was one on my radar. It's a great opportunity to go into this new USL team's home stadium, make sure to kick them while they're down because they're not doing too hot to start off the year, and really kind of establish ourselves again as the team to beat in Florida, and the league as a whole. But I think it's important to keep our neighbors grounded as well. So important game, important opportunity to introduce ourselves to our neighbors up north, and to get some revenge for what they did to my friends in the Jacksonville Armada. So get your tickets. It should be a fun time regardless of the weird stadium setup, and hopefully a nice win for us. But James, you make a good point. It'll be a great turnout on our end, and hopefully it comes across that way on the TV and in the audio too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will say this a couple more times over the course of the show, but please consider getting tickets to this game if you have not already.
Yeah.
I would usually just say go ahead and get your tickets. It is a little bit of a drive, obviously, from this area. My wife and I are going, and we will talk about why there is even more of a reason to go to this game when we get to the preview. But just as a quick preview, there are 2 games that you can attend for very cheap prices in the same day. So stick around for that as well. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any major podcast platform. And of course, please follow us on all your social medias at RBLR Sports. That is where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Well, I guess it's not at RBLR Sports on Facebook, but you can find us pretty easily there, I'm sure. Anyway, let's get into our quick recap here. I will do the starting 11. Austin Pack was in net this past weekend, and that was because Jamali Waite was actually on the bench for Jamaica in their bid to qualify for the World Cup. We're going to talk about that one a little bit more later on too. Stick around for that bit. But Austin Pack makes his Rowdies debut. Dion Akoff, Brian Schaefer, Nathan Dos Santos, and Charlie Ostrom at the back. No change there. Lewis Hilton and Max Schneider behind Sebastian Cruz, Marco Micheletto, and Russell Cicerone. No change there. Pedro Dolabella again, kind of as the highest player, not always an out-and-out striker, but he was in that role at times, and he was tasked with doing some hold-up play. So it's interesting to see how that is and isn't working out. Pedro Dolabella does offer us a lot, I think. So it's just good that he's getting on the field and getting a good run of minutes here. We took a very early lead from a very nice goal, and unfortunately, we had a goal called back, I think it was, but Loudoun United equalized after halftime. So we were going 1-1 into the game as we kind of got towards the stretch there, but Max Schneider scored. Well, okay. So Max Schneider hit a lovely ball, and it was ruled an own goal for
ridiculously
goalkeeper Adam Beaudry. And that means that Max Schneider does not get his name on the score sheet, which I think is a little bit of a letdown. That's neither here nor there, at least for the time being. And then we got a third goal, one that obviously put the game to bed. We're going to go through all of those a little bit later on. Obviously, Loudoun United, despite having a lot of energy like they always do as one of the younger teams in the league, they really couldn't keep us out, and they couldn't keep us down. Quick standings update. The Rowdies are up to 2nd in the East, 3rd in the whole league overall. So we'll discuss those points here. Lou City are on 12 points after their 4 games. So they are perfect, 4 for 4. And obviously the Rowdies are looking to do that right now, this upcoming weekend. But Lou City have set down the marker at this point. Rowdies are 2nd with our 9 points, 3 for 3. Hartford have 8 points. Miami have 7 points. They are currently up in the playoff spots and 4th overall in the Eastern Conference. I think that's kind of surprising, but it's still early. Let's not get too ahead of our skis on that one. Anybody who is any 3 people who are Miami fans. And then there are 3 teams on 6 points sitting behind them over here in the East. Let's go out west really quickly. San Antonio lead with their 10 points from, I believe, 4 games as well. Orange County with 8 points. El Paso with 7 points. Oakland with 7 points. And then there are 2 teams on 5, 3 teams on 4. There was a very funny game this past weekend between Orange County and Oakland with a ridiculous ending. If you are not on Twitter, I don't know. I don't know if this has made the rounds all the way over to you, but there was like I said, just a very silly series of events where Orange County were defending a set piece and Oakland were trying to equalize. The goalkeeper was up in the Orange County box to try and score and make it 1-1 in stoppage time. And when they lost the ball and Orange County almost carried it forward to where they could score on an empty net, the Oakland goalkeeper kicked a ball that he got from behind the goal onto the field to try to delay the game. It did not actually end up working, but the defender for Oakland ended up chasing the ball all the way back to the literal line to kick it off the line, save the goal, keep it at 1-0. They ended up losing the game, but I guess it wasn't 2-0 in the end. And then the goalkeeper, Raphael Spiegel, was sent off. So it was comical. If you haven't seen it, please go look it up. I thought that it made the rounds for most places, but if you haven't seen it, it
went semi-viral around like U.S. soccer circles more broadly. I mean, I saw it on the big like soccer pages around the country, and there's an international one that picked it up, and it's like they do the classic "What's going on in U.S. soccer?"
Right.
Regardless, that was a fun ending to see there. By the way, they had a crowd of 6,724 people out in Oakland, which is nice to see them continue to get some numbers in what's a really tough place to fill up, because they're playing in the Coliseum, which of course holds over 60,000 people. But shout out to them for at least putting a tenant into the Coliseum, because that stadium is too cool to be left deserted. James, plenty of interesting games over the weekend. One of them involved our opponent for this upcoming weekend. Sporting JAX fell 3-2 to Pittsburgh Riverhounds in a game between a team that we already dispatched of thoroughly and a team that I hope we will dispatch of thoroughly this weekend. But some interesting, fun highlights in that game as well. Might be worth checking out. JAX was down 3-0 before scoring 2 quick goals in the span of 3 minutes. This game I'll refer back to when we get into our preview. But one of the more interesting matches over the weekend, one of the more interesting score lines that I went back and, threw some highlights on the TV while I was eating lunch this weekend. Our own standings, more important than the table itself. In our prediction,
many people are saying that.
In our RBLR prediction league, Eureka, myself, and our RBLR writer Connor are tied on 5 points. James has 4 points, and RBLR writer Parker has 3 points. I believe who was the only one to get the score prediction? That was you, James.
Eureka and I got
Eureka and James. Eureka climbs up to tied for first place with his correct prediction of 3-1, and so did James. Good job. It was a tough. I don't think I was wrong in my prediction that this Loudon keeper was going to be a problem. But as you mentioned, some of these goals were just unstoppable, regardless of the quality of keeper. And with that, let's jump into this game a little bit more specifically. You mentioned the lineup. It wasn't all that different from the week prior. In fact, I think it was literally just Austin Pack for Jamali Waite in the starting 11. Interesting. Continue to see Brian Schaefer get the start. Leland Archer making his way back from injury. He wasn't on the bench in this one, but we've talked about this before. Brian Schaefer has continued to have a really, really great showing in his first few games with the Rowdies. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see if Leland Archer is just immediately slotted back when he is fully healthy, because Schaefer has been quite the weapon in the back, even with his long throw-ins, by the way, which directly led into our nice transition here. First goal of the night. Brian Schaefer, anytime we're in like that final third, seems to get down the field, take those throw-ins, and launch in an absolute missile of a ball, as if he's like prime Tom Brady. I don't know what they're feeding these USF kids. But he must have been playing intramural flag football in Temple Terrace at USF too while he was in undergrad, because he was launching these throw-ins again and again. And it led, like I said, to our first goal of the night, just 7 minutes into the game. You mentioned it was a beautiful goal from Cruz, who has been an interesting revelation in these first few games. I think maybe he was a little quiet in the first game, maybe in the second game a little bit too. But he, to me, was advertised as mostly a fullback. It's been interesting to see him play as kind of a out-and-out winger, getting down the field, trying to make things happen, put in a couple good balls. But obviously the most notable moment of his game this past weekend, and probably in his first 3 games overall, was this beautiful, just beautifully placed shot into the top right corner. Nothing that the really impressive 19-year-old Adam Bowdry could do about that. So he'll go down with an own goal for the second goal, Beaudry, but he had a good night overall, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here as we continue. Sebastian Cruz puts the Rowdies up 1-0 in incredible fashion. James, what have you made about his performance over the first few games here? I want to say, was this you in our group chat that mentioned that you were surprisingly impressed with him? Am I getting that right?
That was Connor, again, one of our writers. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm in agreement with him on that one.
Yeah.
Sebastian Cruz, we had talked, I think, early on in this season about the possibility, like you said, of him lining up as a fullback, because in preseason, he did take on those duties every so often.
Yeah.
They had Dion Akoff starting there, and they had Charlie Ostrom starting there, presumably. And then there were a couple of players that moved in and out. So Alex Rodriguez is a player who showed up on both the left and right side. I think Sebastian Cruz showed up on both the left and the right side too. And then there's another youth player, Jesse Tita, who I think he lined up as a fullback. All of that to say, there were a couple of options there, and we weren't really sure. I think that we expected Charlie Ostrom to be the starting left back.
Yeah.
I was a little skeptical that Dion Akoff would be the presumptive starting right back just because of his age at this point, but egg on my face for that one, I suppose.
Yeah.
He has done well very early on, and I really don't think that there's any reason to think, unless an injury happens, that Dion Akoff is not the presumptive starting right back for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll note on Akoff, by the way, he's the first sub of the night. I didn't notice, and again, I went to watch this game back over the last couple of days. I didn't notice if he went off with an injury or anything. I don't think anything was mentioned about anything like that. So I think we're safe to say that early first sub was maybe just tactical or conditioning, just trying to get him some rest. I don't know. It was an earlier sub than we typically see, but again, right as the second half started, Akoff comes off on that right side for MD Myers, which is interesting. Certainly not a position for position type of sub, but I think then we saw Sebastian Cruz drop back from a right winger to a right back, and he steps in back there for Akoff as a right back. It's nice to see us have that utility. We've talked a lot about that over the last few weeks, and how I've been impressed by that, and how it's certainly been an intentional approach from Dominic Caggiato as he's recruited these guys to the 2026 Rowdies. You can say that about Dolabella. Very obviously, he's not typically a striker, but now we've seen a couple of games in a row now where he is starting as a striker, right? We see him move around the field a little bit as the game progresses as well. But it's been really interesting to kind of just go back and see where these guys end up on the field as these substitutions come in, as the game progresses. That's been really fascinating for me to watch, not even as someone who's like super tactically in tune with the game as a whole. It takes me a little bit of effort to go back, note where guys are on the field. I'm still learning, some of these guys' numbers. Like, I had to go back and be like, wait, who's 13 real quick? I'm like, oh, of course, Luis Perez. Luis Perez comes in later in the game. He kind of slots in kind of like a winger. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that's what he was going to do for us. So my point is, there's a lot of movement happening on the field. Like we said before, I think it continues to make us unpredictable. How blessed are we that we could start this really impressive lineup and then bring in MD Myers, Evan Conway, Luis Perez, and then Carson Henderlong comes in as a garbage time substitute in the 90th minute. Like, that's ridiculous. And not only we're talking about these subs just like coming in, this is now 2 weeks in a row where MD Myers and Evan Conway come in, not for a full portion of the game. MD Myers comes in for the entire second half, Conway for the last 20 or so minutes, and make an impact. Obviously, MD Myers gets the goal, but Evan Conway's playmaking ability has been awesome to watch. Like, I thought of him as a pretty standard striker, but when he comes in this game, he's playing out on the wing, getting down the field. He dribbles well, looks up, and is able to throw in a lot of good balls. I mean, he got the assist last week as well. No, he got the goal last week, but did he not also get an assist last week?
Yes, I believe Evan Conway did.
Yeah, and so
In fact, I'm just going to double check while you're talking. So keep going.
Actually, I don't think he did, but I want to say he was involved with some like playmaking towards the end of the game as well. And,
Conway got a goal last week because this was his assist.
Yeah.
But, yes, that was it.
My point is he's been involved in these plays, like from a creative standpoint. It's been awesome to see. So we have a lot of these guys who are coming in, playing a variety of roles and doing it really, really well, which is great. Again, I think this is another game where you can talk about every single guy on the field for at least 5 or so minutes. Like we could spend a lot of time breaking down every single person's performance. I don't think we should, because that wouldn't be a good use of the next like 2 hours. But it's a lot of what we talked about last week already, I think, right? Backline looked really, really good. Utility guys are able to slot in well when those subs are made, like Cruz going back to right back for a while when Akoff comes out at halftime. MD Myers coming in, making immediate impact on this game. Dolabella being able to drop back into the kind of like an attacking midfield role when Myers, Cicerone, and Conway are all on the field. Cicerone, by the way, when Louis Perez, Conway, and MD Myers are all on the field, they seem to be kind of like the main attacking three. And Cicerone looked to be kind of in this drifting attacking midfielder kind of role, which was really fun to watch, because we talked about Cicerone being impressively active over the last couple of weeks, really dribbling downfield. He had the most shots of anybody in this game. He had 6 shots on target, which is ridiculously impressive. His production was awesome. It's shocking that he didn't end up with a goal or an assist. He should have for the Micheletto goal, which I don't think really was an offsides. But regardless, like, again, utility. Guys are able to move around, play a lot of different roles. Before I keep rambling, James, do you want to talk about this second goal anymore? It was beautiful. Did you get what you needed to say out of the way?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like it just merits one more touch here, because Max Schneider, ridiculous. He should end up with the goal. One thing I will say before I throw it over to you again, though, Lewis Hilton's work rate on this play is ridiculous. This was I want to say it was off of a corner kick. Am I right?
It was off of a throw.
No, was it another Brian Schaefer throw-in?
Yeah.
Were the first 2 goals off of Brian Schaefer throw-ins?
No, the first goal was the corner kick.
The first goal was
the
corner
second
kick.
one was the throw-in.
See, now I'm getting confused, because now every throw-in feels like a set piece.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
I mean? It's
like Arsenal.
Yeah. So on our second goal, our fake corner kick, Brian Schaefer throws in this ball. It's bouncing around in the middle, obviously. You've seen this clip a bunch of times, so I won't break it down, bit by bit. But the important part here is that Lewis Hilton's effort over 2 guys that are significantly taller than him, just bodying them off of the ball and somehow getting his head on the ball to put it back towards the Loudon box. That's when Max Schneider finds it falling right to his right foot and lays it up. A beautiful shot, something like I've never seen before from a Rowdies goal. Just ridiculous shot, obviously. Incredible talent, incredible sweet spot. Insane celebration, by the way. He just walked off, put his hands off to the side, and didn't like show any emotion. The guy's insane. He might be a psychopath. I feel like I haven't really seen him like smile or be angry or anything yet, but we'll see. But Lewis Hilton was so impressive on this play, and it won't get talked about that much. That was just beautiful. The grit from all these guys on top of the beautiful soccer is an incredible combination. It's awesome to watch, James.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this one shows off a couple of different things for both what the Rowdies are capable of and the ways that they can create these chances. So you pointed out, obviously, the grit involved, and we've talked about the throw-in is kind of like its own set piece.
Yeah.
Here, the goal itself, though, if we're talking about the strike, I think that it's a little bit of hit and hope. It's one of those where it's one of those where you're kind of in the middle of a good bit of chaos anyway, right? Yeah. And saying that you expected this to go either even on target or anywhere specifically like the upper 90 corner. Probably a little bit,
But it's the confidence, James.
but
Like
it's the
that
confidence. Yes.
to take that shot with that, just with that, obviously you're not going to put it exactly where you want, but to have the to find the sweet spot like that, that's a guy who's playing great soccer and he knows it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. That's exactly right.
I think it shows a
When
lot about the
you
mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're feeling it, you're just gonna have a hit, and you're not thinking in the back of your mind, "Oh, where's this
Mhm.
gonna go? I'm not sure." And then you miss,
Yeah.
right? That's not what's going on, obviously. And when you actually and when you don't think about that, that's your best chance to get it on target. That's your best chance to put it the place where it's supposed to go. And in this case, unfortunately, obviously, Max Schneider does not get his due reward, which is his name on the score sheet.
Yeah.
However, neither
We'll
here nor
count it.
there.
We'll count it.
Yes, exactly. Neither here nor there. The Rowdies do get the 3 points in the end, which
Yeah.
every player is going to tell you that they wanted the 3 points more than they wanted the goals, but
I'm sure he wanted it.
it's good to get the goals too. I'll just say that. But yeah, so I think that Max Schneider, Lewis Hilton, both of them showed themselves really well here. Brian Schaefer, obviously, it should be pointed out, his throw-in was so long that it kind of went off course, I think, with the wind, and it still worked out well. So really just great stuff from him. And I think that is another weapon for us to use. I don't know if that's something that, I don't know if that was a reason that Dom brought him in, but Mr. Casciato, he's done some good scouting already. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was something they had on their little list of bullet points for Brian Schaefer.
And how like insanely valuable it's been too, right? Because this is in Birmingham, off the top of my head, our game-winning goal was off of one of his throw-ins. I can't recall if last week any of those were. I want to say yes. Do you remember, James, if any of the goals were immediately off of one of the Brian Schaefer throw-ins?
I already do not remember, unfortunately.
I know for a fact Birmingham goal, the game against Birmingham, yeah. I want to say last week, probably. Or no, I don't think so. But you only need like one of those every few games to, work to call it a success. And now we've seen at least 2 occasions that led to goals in the last 3 games, at least off the top of my head. And several more that have been immediately created dangerous chances. Like those throw-ins, if nothing else, create chaos in the box. That a lot of back lines aren't necessarily prepared for, right? Because at that point, if you're using that consistently, you're gonna almost like double the amount of corners, quote unquote, you have every game.
Yeah,
you're much more likely to get, I think, a throw in on that side of the field than you are to get a corner. So it's a really good opportunity to just create chaos. Brian Schaefer's been an immense add in that sense, in a way that I was totally unaware of, but I'm really happy with. By the way, speaking of the rest of the back line, Dos Santos had a really quietly impressive game. There was one moment, and it's hard for it to come across on the scoreline, and we won't think about it much because we won. But there's one moment where Loudon forces a turnover on our own side, or in our own half, where there's maybe a little bit of confusion between Schaefer and Dos Santos. Dos Santos goes in for the ball, and Loudon's guy, whose name I'm forgetting, is just a little bit stronger on the ball. It falls to the Loudon attacker, who's one-on-one with Austin Pack, who doesn't get credited with a save, but I think was in a really great position to throw off, to at least make the Loudon finish uncomfortable. Hits the post. I think that changes the game a lot, because you go from a comfortable 2-1 Rowdies lead where we're dominating. We have a lot of possession. There's not really a lot of offensive opportunity for Loudon. That would have given them a huge lifeline, just like the free kick, but nonetheless, doesn't come around. Other than that, I think you can point to another pretty spotless game from the back line, with, again, an equally impressive amount of offensive contribution from all 4 of the guys on the backside. Akoff had a really, really nice shot in that first half that could have snuck in. I love peppering the other team's keepers. You're not always going to face a keeper that is, I think, as impressive or as talented as Beaudry.
I don't think so really for quite a few games.
Yeah. So I think you keep peppering that goal. I think an Akoff goal is possible with continued shots like that. Ostrom had a pretty decent look as well, put in a couple good balls from that left side. I think we're still yet to see the full offensive prowess of his game. Seems to be he's really impressive on the defensive side of things. I think he has a little bit more to contribute offensively that we haven't seen yet. So I think there's still a lot more to come from him. And then of course the two guys in the middle were impressive as always. I got the pack mention out of the way. That's what I wanted to say about him because he otherwise had a quiet night. He didn't really have to do anything, obviously. Right. So again, on the point of the back line, great. And then, of course, our right back for the rest of the game, Sebastian Cruz, after halftime, slotted into that right side very solidly. You didn't really have to hear anything about him because he was impressive on the backside. And I don't think he really had to get upfield all that much because there was so much attacking prowess between the midfield and the attack. So he was nice and steadfast on that right side for the rest of the game. There's one more thing I wanted to mention about the back line, but I'm forgetting. I'll come back to it. James, anything else to touch on here? Any player in particular that you want to give a shout out to, other than maybe your man of the match, who had a good game?
Yeah, obviously we will get to my man of the match in a little bit here.
Yeah.
But I did want to highlight a couple of the players. I think that you mentioned several of these already, Carlos, but MD Myers, again, is returning from injury, coming off the bench. So imagine that, we've done this well without MD Myers, mostly starting. He has already contributed 2 goals. That's pretty good. But still not a starter. Louis Perez, I think at this point seems pretty destined as a sub for the second half in a lot of these games. He'll probably get some starts over the course of the season because it's a long season, but coming in as a depth piece in the second half when the opposition is already kind of starting to wear down a little bit, I think that's worked out extremely well and probably should continue to work out the way that we've seen it so far. Evan Conway.
Yeah, he did look good on that right side for his minutes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Evan Conway also returning from injury. We didn't see him or Myers over the course of the preseason. And both of them, I think, have started on fire. Mm-hmm. Obviously, MD Myers has 2 goals and an assist. Conway has 1 goal and an assist. I think that both of them, that's for 2 appearances. Actually, I can double check myself. I don't know why I'm not doing that. Conway and Myers, both in 2 appearances. So they have 2 goal contributions and 3 goal contributions in 2 appearances. So Conway and Myers, that's fantastic right there. And the last player that came off the bench, somebody that I thought looked really good in preseason and somebody that so far has only been able to, add here and there, but Carson Henderlong. This is a good team. And this is something that we have talked about multiple years in the past. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself because it's so early on, but we have mentioned several times when the Rowdies had a smaller roster. And I don't think that we have an extremely big roster at the moment. But what we do have is depth in key places. Yeah. So right back was one of the things that worried me. Sebastian Cruz can play right back. Alex Rodriguez can play right back. Jesse Tita can play right back. I also think that several of the other players that we've seen so far could shift over. But Dion Akoff has been so strong, we haven't needed it so far. Up top, Carson Henderlong hasn't even been starting, and we do have extreme depth as like a center forward position. MD Myers obviously can play there. Pedro Della Bella apparently can play there. I'm assuming that Russell Cicerone might be able to step in, and Evan Conway might be able to step in a pinch, even if they're more wingers. But Carson Henderlong obviously has come off the bench here. And we have a couple more wingers on the bench who can fill in when we need them. Sebastian Cruz has done that. And the players that I've already mentioned. Mateus Oliveira, one of our most recent signings, he has not seen any time. Gino Vivi has not seen any time yet. Again, Alex Rodriguez is another one who can play there. So, it's good to keep in mind all of these different things while we're already looking, I think, probably one of the better teams in the league. That's probably indisputable at this point. But keep racking up the points with this momentum, honestly.
And 2 other guys that are going to be making their way back as well. You didn't mention, of course, Leland Archer, center back, who will add a 3rd center back to an already incredible unit. And Gennaro Nigro, who's had great minutes with Las Vegas Lights. I think most recently, who we talked about when we made that announcement. He's still coming back from injury. Last time I was at the Rowdies training facility, which was the Friday before the home opener. The day before the home opener. Nigro was back out on the field, kind of just doing some workouts by himself, not doing full team training yet. So he's making his way back slowly. And we'll probably see him make his way back to the bench soon enough as well, too. And again, that's, a direct competition piece for Ostrom, which, if nothing else, adds depth, and if nothing else, adds competition for that left side, making both guys better, right? Great stuff. You mentioned Henderlong. He is so good. It's an incredible problem that Dominic Casciato has on his hands, because you have an insanely talented young striker in Henderlong who's going to go out and kill. Like, he is a dog. He is super young in his career. He's 25, and he very much wants to prove himself. You can tell, like, he wants to go out there and just play. I think he's a guy that is going to give you really, really good minutes when you give them to him. I just don't know when that's going to happen. Like, there's a lot of talent in that attacking portion of the field. Initially last week, I was a little surprised that Dolabella was kind of inserted into that role. It felt like a natural opportunity to give Henderlong minutes. That being said, I understand wanting to throw out the midfield unit of Hilton, Schneider, Micheletto with Dolabella in front of them. Like, that is so incredibly impressive. And it's looked that way in the first few games too, by the way. Micheletto has been really, really good. Obviously got that first goal of the season. Was impressive last week. Continued to be impressive this week. I think he should have gotten a goal. That offsides rule is sometimes up for interpretation, right? When Dolabella is off the ball, but maybe interfered with the goalie's vision. So he was called for offsides, and Micheletto's goal was ruled out. That would have given a goal to Micheletto and an assist to Cicerone. Both guys who I think deserved their name on the stat sheet this week.
Yeah.
But I'll just tout Cicerone one more time, by the way, because 6 shots on target is so impressive against a slightly worse off goalie. Again, I have, just based on my limited time of viewing this Beaudry kid, he looks like he could be really, really good. I think he's got an impressive future in the USL and probably beyond in MLS.
Right, probably.
So against a keeper that's maybe a little bit more off his game, maybe this weekend. No shade to the Jacksonville keeper or back line, but they are struggling. Cicerone probably notches 1 or 2 in this game. He had great looks. He had at least one clear one-on-one look that Beaudry came out and saved really, really impressively. And him, along with, I think, who else was peppering him throughout the game? It was mostly Cicerone. Dolabella had a couple shots on target as well. But Cicerone was particularly impressive and just continuing to pepper Beaudry all night, giving him really tough shots to save. Maybe with the exception of that clear one-on-one, maybe not the highest like XG shots, but shots that, like I said, at least one of them are bound to go in if you keep putting those up. So I love his level of production. It was really, really fun to watch. By the way, I'll give you a couple last numbers to close out. Rowdies had 43 touches in the Loudon box to Loudon's 13.
That's great.
Yeah. 10 shots on target to Loudon's 1, and 6 of those were from Cicerone. 21 total shots, 6 for Loudon. It's been a while since I think I've seen a Rowdies team this comfortable with taking shots outside of the box as well.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And obviously led to 2 goals in this one. Lewis Hilton's like to do it on occasion. He'll let it rip every once in a while. But it seems like these guys are kind of firing on all cylinders. And maybe it rubbed off a little bit on Lewis Hilton as well, because he ripped a really nice shot from outside the box too. That was just a little bit wide. So I love that. I think keep peppering the net, keep throwing shots at the other team, and you get a lot of goals like that are fun to watch. And, regardless of how nice they are, they end up on the score sheet. MD Myers got his goal. Lovely. So cool. Keep that up. He's going to be exactly who we thought he was going to be. And just a beautiful play from Evan Conway to set that up. Thought Mob says we missed one big chance and we only created one big chance, apparently, for whatever that's worth. I would assume they consider that Cicerone one-on-one chance with Beaudry to be the big chance. Or maybe it was the shot that was saved by Beaudry, came out to Micheletto, and was saved off of the line by the Loudoun defender. One of those is going to be the one that they would consider a big chance missed. And apparently, do you remember hitting the woodwork twice? I remember the.
I mean, not offhand, but
Yeah, that's what Fatma says. We hit the woodwork twice. Dolabella, I can certainly remember hitting the crossbar off of a beautiful cross whipped into him. He had a header that just sailed a little high. I'm surprised, that he did. I'm not surprised that he's been able to use his height to get on the end of some of these headers. I think the goal is coming for him sooner rather than later, regardless of whether he's in that kind of striker, quote unquote, role or in the attacking midfield kind of role. I just don't know. I don't know how you take out Marco Micheletto right now too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would assume if you slot in MD Myers into the striker role, you take out either Dolabella or Micheletto. Both of them have been really, really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Micheletto just a little bit more, but I mean, it's so subjective, right? They've both had incredible starts of the year. Dom has a lot of decisions to make as the season progresses. I'm sure it'll leave a couple guys unhappy with their playing time, but it'll lead to a great problem for him. And I think the best product you could put out on the field for us. So I love it. Another great game for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, James. And I think another great opportunity to build on this momentum this weekend.
Absolutely. The momentum that we have right now, I think, is one of the largest points that I would like to make once we get into that preview. But we'll save that for a little bit. In the meantime, Carlos, we need to do our man of the match. So who was your man of the match for this past game?
My man of the match, although I would love to give it to Cicerone because of his insane work rate. It's just, I mean, by the way, he deserves I'll create a separate honor roll of the match. He goes on there. Schaefer goes on there. Schneider goes on there for me. But I think my man of the match is, I'm going to agree with Fatmob, actually. Fatmob has Sebastian Cruz as their man of the match. I agree. Obviously, he opened the goal scoring. But I think he was most impressive in his ability to influence the game outside of that as well. When he dropped back into that right back role for Akoff, that allows guys like MD Myers to come in. Being able to be that kind of utility player allows other guys to bring their best game as well. So he's able to influence the game just by existing on the field as well. I think he was really impressive in that right back role as well. He was able to get up the field and create a couple chances when he needed to, but I was more impressed with his defensive ability too, because I think it's rare to find a guy that can score a goal like the one he did and then go back in and, comfortably play on the back line, I guess, for however much of a back line you could call it. It seemed like he was, itching to get upfield, but did his defensive role really, really well too. So I think he deserves my man of the match.
Fair enough. Well, mine, I think I went with the direction of this player deserved a little bit more than he got as well. So I felt the need to name him the man of the match for me, and that was Max Schneider. Max Schneider, I think, deserved to not only get that goal. Obviously, it was counted as an own goal, but his work rate continues to be stellar. 3 games in, and I don't know if he has stopped running in between them. I hope so. Get him in the ice bath or something. But yeah, Max Schneider is fantastic, and the goal that he didn't get is not totally, but almost the least of his contributions for these past couple of games. So Max Schneider is my man of the match for this game as well, and actually that is his second so far in this very early season. So good stuff from him. Before we move on, want to say liking and subscribing is free, but if you need some new threads this year, you can support our podcast a little bit more by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com. You can check out all the designs that we've got going on there. There will be a link in the description, and you can use the promo code COYR for 10% off when you see something that you like, which I'm sure you will. And hopefully you will be coming to one of the games in the future with some RBLR gear so that we can see it. Take some pictures with you, what have you, all that good stuff. But
maybe this upcoming away game,
there is a chance. There is a chance. So to get into that, we need to talk about this Saturday. This Saturday at 7:30, the Rowdies will take on Sporting JAX in Hodges Stadium in Jacksonville. It is on the campus of, I think, UNF, the University of North Florida. So this is what I was saying earlier. You should go to this game. If you are considering it, please be aware that a lot of Rowdies fans are already going. If you would like to sit with us, no problem. Obviously, come join us in the stands, and we can be much louder than all the Sporting JAX fans. That is what we're hoping for, obviously. The way we do that is we get a lot of people there. So please come join us. As I said, my wife and I are already going, as well as a bunch of other people from the Ralph's Mob and Skyway Casuals supporters groups. If you are worried that there might be a work stoppage for the players, there is still a reason to get tickets, because there is a game earlier at Hodges Stadium for the Sporting JAX women's team. What better way to show off how much we hate our in-state rivals than rooting against them, even on the women's side? That game is at 2 p.m, but the tickets are very, very cheap. If you would like to get those, I think that we are currently getting them in the 103 section. But again, I believe it's all the general admission because it's all the same stadium. So double reason to get tickets to go to this game. Join us in Jacksonville, please. I also have tickets to go to that game with my wife. So like I said, we're going to cheer against Sporting JAX. We're going to call them all the names that Jacksonville people get. I don't know what those are, but I'm sure we'll hear them in the Rouse Mob Discord, and we'll get to say Sporting, you suck, etc. So far, they do suck. In fact, 3 losses and a draw to start the season. Not very good. I actually started much better on the women's side. So it's kind of weird how poorly Sporting JAX have been in the USL Championship so far, but it is possibly a higher bar to meet than it is on the women's side, just because there is a lot more talent around in the USL Championship. So I think that maybe that's got something to do with it here. They are currently level on points with Rhode Island, which is the one team that they drew so far. Each of those teams has 1 point. Go figure. They are last in the East, and I think, well, they're last tied with Rhode Island on points, and I think that they have a worse goal differential. So to get into their lineup, Christian Olivares will almost certainly be in net behind Harvey Neville, possibly Ryan Edwards. There might be some other options. Mohamed Traore and Tyshawn Rose at left back. Jordan Rossiter and Brem Sumaro started the last game in midfield instead of Thomas Roberts and Juan Kamal, who started the 2 games prior. However, obviously things weren't working out, so I guess they tried to go with these other players, and obviously it didn't work out either, although they did get relatively close in this past game. Kieran Sadlier, Rafferty Petter, and Dita Armstrong are likely to start across the attacking midfield positions. And up top, I expect to see Emil Jaskalainen. If that name sounds familiar to you, his dad is Jussi Jaskalainen, the former long time goalkeeper in the Premier League, especially for Bolton Wanderers. Other players that have started in attacking positions are Palestine international Ahmad Al-Kak and Zeke Soto, a U.S. youth international. So there are options here that they're kind of trying out. And the reason is, again, because Jacksonville are not doing well. They have to kind of grope through the dark to see where they're gonna find an option that works for them. So far, as I said, they obviously have not. Lou City has won their first 4 games and laid down a marker. I mentioned this earlier. I think that this is a very, very, very good chance for the Rowdies to do the same here. We are looking good, and Jacksonville obviously are not. So I'm hopeful that we can continue this. If they are in the middle of putting it all together, and putting it all together is still a ways off, let's take advantage. Let's make it 4 for 4. Let's get 12 points on the board early. Not only is it good for us to keep the pace with Lou City, which I think is important for us as a team, but in addition to that, what I think I really want us to get this momentum. I don't know if a work stoppage will be coming either before this weekend or after it, but if we have the momentum that this team deserves, because they are looking so good and because they are obviously a very talented bunch, that gives us the confidence. It's the same thing we were talking about with the Max Schneider shot. You don't attempt that shot and make it when you're like questioning yourself. Am I going to hit this right? Oh, I've punted it over the field. It's out of the stadium.
Straight into my half.
Yes, exactly. So this is our opportunity to keep that momentum, to keep that belief, confidence, all of the other words that are synonyms. So provided there isn't a work stoppage, then I would like to see us win this game. Also, while we're on the topic, I just want to throw it out. All of the players recently have been starting games by gathering in the center circle for the first minute of each half, as opposed to what they were doing previously, which is the moment of stationaryism. That's not a word, but yeah. So they are obviously taking more steps to be more vocal, be more visible about it.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that works out. But yes,
Yeah.
good thing to highlight while we're on the subject.
Yeah, super interesting to keep an eye on how this all continues to play out. It doesn't seem like there have been any positive developments in terms of trending towards an agreement.
Unfortunately, no.
And again, it seems like most of those conversations are happening behind closed doors anyway. So I don't know if there would be any new insight that James or I would have come across. Maybe Kardik. Maybe we need to get Kardik back on.
Yeah.
Soon enough. James, I think you make a good point. Sporting JAX is awful at soccer for the moment. It's not that they don't necessarily have any talent either, though. Some of these players are impressive. There are a lot of young guys who are still trying to prove themselves. I just from watching a little bit of the Sporting JAX versus Pittsburgh game, they went, like I said, they went down 3-0 very, very quickly. And they had to kind of crawl back and try and make something out of this game. They were, by all accounts, getting dominated. But similar to kind of how we experienced Loudoun this weekend, they were able to find a lifeline with a couple goals that came out of nowhere. Traore in the 58th minute, and then Jaskalainen in the 61st minute, which sounds much more like a name I would hear on like the Tampa Bay Lightning than I would on a soccer field. But regardless, the kid looks talented. He had a really nice finish against Pittsburgh, and was really, really it seemed like the focal point of their attack, which probably makes sense as a striker who is 6'3". Yeah. So it's not that they can't score goals, because if you look back at their last few games, they certainly can. In the case of this game against Pittsburgh, it seemed like it came when Pittsburgh already felt like they could take their foot off the gas. So maybe if there's a key for this game, it would be to not take your foot off the gas.
There we go.
Similar to how you played against Loudoun, right? I mean, you almost gave them a chance to get right back into it with a simple mistake in the back line, and we were fortunate enough to get away with them hitting the post off of some, I think, helpful positioning from Austin Peck. Their first goal, their only goal, the free kick, was impressive enough. A lot of these teams have a talent that can maybe find that in them at any given moment. So
yeah,
keep your foot on the gas. Thank you, Austin Peck, for, I think, putting together a pretty decent first showing. I think we assume Jamali Waite will be back this weekend, pending his, not pending, regardless of the result that Jamaica puts together against DR Congo tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We should see him back. Like I said, it doesn't seem that JAX can't score goals. They can. If you give them the right opportunity, they can. But their defense doesn't exist. Like, they have I think they have statistically the worst goal differential in the league right now. They've conceded 11 goals in 4 games, which is obviously not where you want to be as a team this early on in the year. With the Rowdies kind of seemingly firing on all cylinders, I think this is an opportunity to kind of establish yourself as the most offensively potent team in the league. I want to see a lot of goals in this game, right? I want to see Russell Cicerone knock in 1 or 2 of those kind of narrow angle shots that he was taking against Beaudry. I think you're more likely to find success in that department against this Sporting JAX defense and goalie. With all due respect to Oliveras, he has struggled early on.
Mm-hmm.
So take advantage of that. Keep peppering the net. Maybe MD Myers starts to find a start in this one. Again, played a full half in this game, but if you don't want to rush him back either, I think this is a game where you could afford to continue to let him come off the bench. Yeah. I think that's everything I have to say on this game. Go to this game. If you're in the area, make the trip over. If you're not, make the trip over. 3.5 hour drive to Hodges Stadium shouldn't be a massive barrier on you making it over there. There'll be a good number of Rowdies fans there. Over 30-something folks confirmed from the Ralph's Mob and Skyway Casual side of things. I'm sure there will be more casual fans and other unaffiliated folks making their way over. And I think you will all have a really, really good time. I wish I could be there. I will be there in spirit. I love an away game, and I think it's important to really, like I said, establish ourselves in our neighbor's backyard and put together a confident result on the field and in the stands, James.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With that, we can get into our predictions here. Carlos, I have mine written. I see that you don't. So would you like me to go first?
You go first, James. I'm glad you have a prediction that I will say is different from mine. So I'm not copying you regardless of what you write down or say.
All right. Well, I wrote mine yesterday Sunday was yesterday. Yes, I wrote mine yesterday, Sunday, when I was preparing all of our bullet points for this show. So a 2-0 win for me. Nobody can say that I took their score. If anything, they took my score. And one of those people is Eureka, our producer. He also has gone with a 2-0 win, while our writers, Parker and Connor, offered their predictions, a 3-0 win and a 4-0 win. So far, 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. 4 shutouts. That's the predictions that we have here. Carlos, what are you thinking for this one?
I'm going to go with 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think shutouts are hard to come by in this league. I think we have a really impressive back line.
We talked about that last week. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. No matter how impressive this back line is, it's hard to keep that up, especially so early on in the year. Like I said, this Jaskalainen kid looks really impressive. And I think you could find 1 or 2 good chances if you're playing at home, regardless of who you're playing against. I don't think the talent gap is they're both teams in the USL Championship, regardless of how bad Jacksonville started off. Their problem has been much more in the back line than it has been in the attack. So I think they'll find at least 1 or 2 opportunities. All they need is one of them to go in for my scoreline to go well. I would love a shutout, but I feel like 4-1 is realistic to both sides of this coin. Jacksonville's awful in the back line so far. I don't think they'll figure it out from 1 week to the next. And I think the Rowdies kind of learned from the scare they had this weekend with the Loudon free kick and the post that they got, that they're not going to that they shouldn't take their foot off the gas, right? And I feel like there's a few guys here that are really, really wanting to get their name on the score sheet. So I think this is a good opportunity to do that. 4-1, I feel, is a good prediction here, James. Regardless, I like all the predictions, and I'd be happy with any of them. But I just feel like this is a really good opportunity for a lot of goals.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is with these circumstances. But as we said last week, shutouts are difficult. Soccer is a low-scoring sport, and getting goals is difficult. Also, keeping a clean sheet is very difficult because you can have any mistake at any given time. You can have weird, fluky free kicks. Mm-hmm. You can have, I don't know who might remember this from, I think it was last season, possibly the season before, when El Paso scored from their own half. It's just weird stuff happens. So keeping a clean sheet is difficult. I think that we've done well to get 2 so far, and I would like 3, but yeah.
Hopefully one of those goals isn't, if you'll recall, that El Paso goal was the goal that led to a draw in that game.
Yes.
Hopefully in this case, it's some random garbage time goal when we're up 4-0. Would be annoying, but a 4-1 result, I think, is kind of in the wheelhouse of things I'd be happy with. So,
absolutely.
Let's continue momentum. Let's go dominate at this weird, supposedly a 12,000 person stadium. It's a huge stand that they have on one side, and that's really it. Go in there, make some noise. They have a supporters group that is really pushing the wrong buttons for me. On Instagram, they posted a few months ago about like being at the Inter Miami game and learning how to be a supporters group from the Inter Miami. It was just, I don't know what's going on over there. It's a weird club. I don't like the folks that were around Jacksonville Armada and that supporters group, but at least they were more authentic than whatever the hell's going on in Sporting Jacks. Let's run these nerds out of the park.
There we go. There we go. You have your marching orders from Carlos. Get your tickets and help us do that. All right, let's do our extra time segment here. Should be a pretty quick one. Jamali Waite, like I said, is with the Jamaica national team squad for the last round of World Cup qualifying. There are 6 more places left, and one of those will go to either Jamaica or the DR Congo. Dr. Congo, as I keep reading it. But yes, there are those 6 places left, and I am personally hopeful that Jamaica wins. I don't have the greatest of hopes because they did not do particularly well against New Caledonia, which is not the greatest international team. That's neither here nor there for this. I want the USL Championship to be represented within the World Cup squads more than they probably already will be, and that means one of the best chances for that is Jamaica. Curacao will have a couple of USL Championship players, so Jamaica is another team that could contribute there, and I would like to see that, including obviously Jamali Waite. I think that would be awesome, not only for Jamaica people who there are a lot of Jamaican people in the U.S. and there are some great kits out there for Jamaica as well, so there are a lot of reasons to root for them, including Jamali Waite. In the meantime, I will point out that Austin Pack obviously is our starting goalkeeper when Jamali is away. And we brought in Owen Finnerty on a short-term deal. Right now, I believe that was only for 25 days. We'll see if it gets extended. I assume, obviously, this means that our 2 goalkeepers from the academy, effectively, they are not in contention to possibly get USL Championship minutes, let's say if Austin Pack gets injured. But just something to note, I didn't have a ton of information on Owen Finnerty before this. I think that he was mostly playing in the MLS Next Pro division or league. But yes, that's one of our players for at least 25 days.
Yeah, weird. Maybe it was just to have a backup while Austin Pack's out there, assuming that they didn't want to risk having to play the kids. Apparently he's Uruguayan, according to FOTMob. Finnerty is an interesting name, but whatever. You're right. He played some games with Inter Miami 2 and 23 and 24. Forward Madison had 1 appearance in 2025. Welcome, I guess. Yeah, sure. It's one of the more random announcements, but I'm sure he will, continue to help us strengthen the goalkeeper unit. Yeah. By the way, on the topic of random signings, I'm glad that you mentioned our new Brazilian midfielder earlier on in the game earlier on in our recap, because I would have forgotten these are when I was watching back the game and I saw him celebrating in the corner with the team, and I thought he was one of the coaches for a second. Who is this guy? But okay. I think this is our team going forward. I don't think we can expect any crazy random new signings for the next few weeks. But hopefully Jamali Waite's Jamaica does really, really well tomorrow night. We'll be rooting for them. That being said, if things don't go well, I would also be happy to have him here throughout the World Cup and not have to, change goalkeepers in the summer months. Of course, I think my first preference is seeing Jamaica in the World Cup, though. So good luck to him and the crew. Okay, James, I think that's our podcast for the week. Thanks for bearing with us on this Monday night. It's 8:41 p.m. if you're still listening to this live. Thanks, first of all. Second of all, like and subscribe to this if you're watching it. I would hope you are. We are everywhere you find your podcasts. We're on YouTube if you want to see James and I's lovely faces. If you just care about the audio, you can get us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Everywhere you get podcasts, we are there. James, you can follow me at CarlosCPA10 on Twitter. I know you already do, but where can people follow you?
I am also on Twitter at RBLR James K.
And follow RBLR Sports at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, the MySpace, wherever you get social media content and you do your doom scrolling, why not doom scroll with us? By the way, check out our Instagram in particular, where you can see the post-game press conference clips from Dominic Casciato and some of the players that made their impacts well felt this past weekend. Those are always fun to see. So thanks to you, James, and Eureka for putting those up on the Instagram. Again, go check it out at RBLR Sports for some of the post-game content there. James, I think that's everything from us. You want to take us home?
I believe so. Yes. So with another win in the books, and obviously we're hoping for another big win coming up this weekend against some
We're in a row.
new but still interstate rivals. Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.